What's up, everybody? It's been a minute since the last video, but with the new Pokemon DLC, the Teal Mask dropping in under a week as of the recording of this video, it's time to talk about some of the news that's recently dropped. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be coming to the game. Got new Pokemon coming, got old Pokemon coming back. New abilities, new moves, and all of that. But in a recent Famitsu article, we actually got confirmation about some of the TMs that are going to be returning to the game. And TMs, even with all that other stuff, TMs are actually some of the most game-changing things that are going to be added. And there's some pretty juicy ones. There's some pretty juicy ones that are confirmed, and there's obviously going to be plenty more besides these ones. So let's talk about these TMs and what they might do to the game. So as you can see here, the ones that were explicitly mentioned were Grassy Glide, Burning Jealousy, Lash Out, Poltergeist, and Toxic. I think that last one, Toxic, is definitely the one, especially if you're a singles player, that you're looking at the most. And you might be like, ooh, happy that these are coming back, or terrified, like, oh, these are coming back. But one thing to note is that these, even though these are coming back, they might not be coming back to all of the Pokemon that had them in the past. Just because Toxic's coming back doesn't mean that Zapdos is getting Toxic. Doesn't mean that Landorus is getting Toxic, or Heatran, or Blissey, or Garchomp. We don't know how the distribution is going to be. So that is something important to note with all of these tutors. Like maybe Skill Shot comes back as a tutor, doesn't mean Garchomp gets it again. We don't know that. So that's something to remember. But yeah, hopping onto Pokemon Showdown to look at some of these mons, and yeah, a lot of them, like I was saying, like a lot of them might not actually get Toxic back. Obviously this guy Landorus T, he'd love to have Toxic back. But real talk, like if you're asking me, I kind of hope that most of these Pokemon don't get Toxic back. I've kind of been enjoying a metagame where not everybody can use Toxic, because it felt like everything got Toxic the last few gens. But if Toxic does come back, I think a lot of people think about Toxic and they're like, oh yeah, the Stall Kids, they're going to be eaten with Toxic. But honestly, Toxic, if it does come back, could honestly be good for crippling some of these defensive Pokemon, because there's a lot of games where Tinglu comes in, or Great Tusk comes in, or these birds like Zapdos and Moltres with their boots are just like Volt turning around, and you're like, I can't make progress on these things. They just sit here forever. I can't kill them. And Toxic, Toxic lets a lot of things, kind of force the situation in a way against some of these mons. So, that is an element to also consider. But honestly, thinking about it now, two of the best Pokemon coming back in the DLC next week are Gliscor and Clefable, who don't care about Toxic. So that might even, if Toxic does become more prominent than it is now, that could even be a boon to Pokemon like them and like Garganacl that don't care about Toxic. Because like right now, Toxic is not a thing that all the teams, like I run plenty of teams that don't even have Toxic on it. Like Toxic, there's only what, like 4 or 5 mons in the tier right now that actually have Toxic. Yeah, like Amoonguss, Claude, Glim, Slowking, Pex, and they don't necessarily always run Toxic either. So there's a lot of games where you're Tinglu and if you're Tinglu, 4 of these mons are weak to ground. There's not necessarily a ton of Pokemon that can actually threaten Toxic on you. So yeah, I think having Toxic, it could be good, but I don't want it on everybody. Like if some Pokemon like Wo-Chien or Brute Bonnet or Gliscor or just like a few non-poison types get it, I'm chill with it. But I kind of hope not everything has Toxic, but we'll see what they do with that. But Toxic is not the only one coming back. We also have Grassy Glide, which for this guy, that's gigantic. Grassy Glide back for Rillaboom is gigantic. Grassy Glide did get nerfed to 60 BP, so it's not quite as strong as it was last gen, but obviously Rillaboom has access to Terra, And, you know, that's going to make Grassy Glide even more powerful than it was last gen with, like, you know, Terra Grass, Grassy Glide. I don't know if Rillaboom's going to be as good as it was last gen because, like, there's a lot of, like, sturdy grass resist right now in the metagame. Like, there's, like, stuff like Corviknight and Zapdos and Moltres, like we were talking about, and Dragonite and a lot of Pokemon. Like, these are Pokemon that are on a lot of teams. So there's a lot of, you know, Glide switch-ins that people are playing a lot, but I still think having something like Grassy Glide would be really good because, you know, you have stuff like Booster Energy Valiant that would take a ton from this, and a lot of, like, really fast mons that would take a ton from Grassy Glide, especially if it's like Bandit or something. So this definitely gives this thing a niche. Also, I guess if, like, maybe if Pokemon like Urshifu Rapid or Palafin get unbanned in the future, then those are other things that, like, this thing would threaten a lot. Like, I think this is definitely a big boon to Rillaboom. For other mons though, I'm not sure if it's, like, that big a deal, like, because no one else has auto terrain except for, like, Arboliva, but Arboliva, I don't think that has, like, a usable attack stat. Yeah, that doesn't really have a usable attack stat, so that doesn't even matter for that thing. The one that I did hear some people getting hyped for was Breloom, right? Because obviously with Grassy Glide being 60 BP now, with Grassy, I'm pretty sure it's 60 BP now. But with Grassy Glide being 60 BP now, you know, it actually will now get the Technician boost, which is, you know, that's like, oh, that's 90 BP Glide for Breloom, and that's cool. Like, for it to have really strong priority like that, especially in terrain. But, you know, if you're playing a Rillaboom Breloom team, they're losing to a lot of, like, those mods I was talking about that, like, could deal with Glide on Rillaboom are going to deal with it on Breloom too. They lose to a lot of the same stuff. So I'm not convinced that this is going to, like, take over the game. Like, I think I saw a Blunder tweet yesterday and he was like, oh, this thing is going to have 65%. I know he was gassing it, but, like, I know some people were getting excited, like, oh, this could be crazy, but I'm not convinced that this would be, like, a crazy game changer for Breloom, but it definitely could be interesting. It definitely could be interesting. Outside of Breloom, though, I don't think there's any other mon I would really care about getting Glide. I think Rillaboom's the main thing. It's really just Rillaboom, but, like, it could be cool on, like, Breloom too. It could be cool on them. It'd be cool. But yeah, the other big move confirmed to be coming back through TMs is Poltergeist. Now Poltergeist. So Game Freak, they're such trolls on Game Freak because physical ghost types, like, you look at all these physical ghost types. What's it called? Where are they? You look at all these physical ghost types. Yeah, like Basket Legion, Scarlet, and all these guys. They just need a good ghost move. Game Freak, forever, they said physical ghost types. You got Shadow Claw, which is trash, 70 BP, and you got, like, Phantom Force, which is like 90 BP 2-turn, trash. And then they give them Poltergeist, and immediately they take it away. They're like, haha, you know, not anymore. But they're finally giving it back because Game Freak doesn't know how to balance physical ghost moves. Like, the physical ghost moves they dropped this gen were Rage Fist, so broken it got Annihilate banned, and Last Respects, so broken that they just straight up banned the move. Like, finally, we just have Poltergeist back so physical ghost could just have a move that's good and doesn't break the game. So like I was saying, obviously, Sarah Legend and Basket Legion are, like, the main two you look at and, like, say, wow, they, like, this thing with Poltergeist, because this thing uses Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak as its, like, ghost moves. So now you could just have Poltergeist and it's 40 BP stronger, like, than Shadow Claw. Like, that's a huge buff to Sarah Legend. Just a huge buff. Same thing for Basket Legion. Basket Legion gets adaptability too. So you have ridiculously powerful Poltergeist. So these Pokemon are so happy to see this come back. Obviously, I am assuming that these Pokemon will get it. Technically, Game Freak control and just give it to nothing but garbage. But, like, assuming that, like, these Pokemon get it, that'd be really big for them. I guess the other one that people will always talk about is Dragapult. Like, oh, what if they do it? What if they do it? What if they do it? What if they give this boy Poltergeist? I don't think they'll do it because I think Game Freak knows he'd be broken with it. I think Game Freak knows he'd be broken with it. I guess there's like a world where Dragon Ball could have Poltergeist and not break the game, because you could be like, oh, you still have Ting Lu and Garganackle and some stuff that could handle it. But like, in my mind, I think if this thing has like DD Poltergeist and Dragon Darts, I'm like, bro, this is too much. I'm like, this is too much. I mean, I think this thing would have to go if it gets it. I don't think it's gonna get it, but I think it'd probably be too much. It'd definitely be too much in draft though. Forget about it. Draft is gone. It's Omega banned in draft. Even in OU though, I think it might be too much now. But like I said, I don't think it's gonna get this. The other two moves were what? Burning, Jealousy, and Lash Out. I don't think those matter that much. Those are pretty niche. So I don't think those moves matter that much. But you know, these are not going to be the only TMs. Like, there's stuff like Knockoff, Scald, Scale Shot, you know, Defog, Triple Axle. Like, we don't know if these are going to come back as TMs. They might, right? We don't know, but they might. Yeah, stuff like Knockoff, though. Like, stuff like Knockoff, to me, I look at Knockoff the same way I look at stuff like Toxic. Like, stuff like Crocodile, Weavile, a few of these Pokemon. Alright. You guys kind of need it back. But if everybody has knockoff again, I don't know about that. I don't know if Landers needs knockoff. I don't know if Toxapex needs knockoff. I don't know if everybody needs to have knockoff. You know, and honestly, knockoff's kind of scary because, you know, Bisharp had knockoff in the past. So we might be talking about King Gambit with knockoff. That's kind of scary. That's the thing with these TMs is you think about like, oh, Triple Axle, it'd be really cool if Weavile got that. Oh, Scale Shot, it'd be really cool if Garchomp got that. But then it's like, what happens if they just give Triple Axle and Scale Shot to like Excalibur? And then you're like, okay, that's cool, I guess. You know, I'm happy that that thing is getting that. So TMs they're terrifying. It's exciting, but it's also terrifying. Like, another one is Scald, right? Because Scald's dead. It's just on, Volcanion, right? Because it was supposed to be a signature move. But we saw that Milotic got it. Like, we saw that. Like, we saw that in the trailer, that Milotic has Scald. So we know that's coming back. And Scald's another one of those moves that changes everything. For better or for worse. Is it going to be like old gens where every water type in the world has Scald, or are they going to limit it to certain Pokemon? Like, are we going to have Pex with, you know, Scald and Knockoff? Are we going to have Slowbro with Toxic and Scald again? Like, we don't know. Maybe Dondozo gets Scald and, you know, makes physical Pokemon, you know, hate that thing even more. We'll have to see. But for me, the number one thing is just defog. You give me defog back on more Pokemon, and you can do whatever you want. That's my biggest problem. Too many hazards, not enough ways to get rid of them. So defog's my number one. But, you know, we'll see what happens with all of these Pokemon. Obviously, we have limited information right now, but we're real close, and we're going to know a lot more very soon. So, you know, it's just exciting to talk about it. And, yeah, I mean, I'll be back with more videos soon for sure, because there's going to be a lot of information coming in the next few days because there's a bunch of new Pokemon, a bunch of crazy stuff happening. But that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. You know, hit that like button, you know, subscribe. I'm going to be more active for sure, so definitely do all of that. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see y'all next time.